today's program, we'd like to do in honor of a friend that we lost this past year, Steve Flynn. Steve Flynn was a Council on Aging board member and a town representative. And he worked tirelessly to make sure for many years, that seniors knew about the senior circuit breaker. And he wanted to make sure that people knew that they could get a break, something that was, he used to call the best kept secret in government. And the senior circuit breaker is really that. It's a resource for folks. Most people don't realize they can benefit from it, and they can get up to many thousands of dollars back. And so we want to make sure that you have the information that at your fingertips to make sure that if you are eligible, that you can receive that benefit. And we want to say a special thanks to Steve. He used to have vacations, I think, for this senior circuit breaker on him at all times. And he would talk to anybody who would listen about it. And so this program is in honor of you, Steve, and all of your hard work. Thank you.
Welcome everyone today. My name is Natalie Dussault. I'm here at the Chelmsford Senior Center, and we're very happy to have back this year, once again, Brian Lynch to talk about the senior circuit breaker tax refund credit. And we'll be here to chat, and thank you very much, Brian.
Okay.
We will take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie, for the invitation to join everybody. And thanks for everyone for being here today. I hope it's worth your time, and I hope it's going to pay off. I hope it's going to be valuable time spent. So today we'll talk about the senior circuit breaker tax credit, kind of a funny name. People always say circuit breaker, like how does that, what's the connection? The person that developed the idea almost 20 years ago now in Massachusetts, they used, for some reason, an electrical outlet when it becomes burdened or a little bit overwhelmed. The circuit breaker is there. It's activated a trip to provide some relief for the burdened outlet. So I'm not really sure how that relates to taxes, but it's kind of a stretch. But I wish we could just rename it to the senior real estate tax credit. I think people would kind of know more what we're talking about, right?
Definitely more intuitive for that.
Yeah, I had a woman contact me and she said, my husband's an electrician. Is there some type of tax credit that's available to us? And I said, well, maybe if you're over 65, but that's about it. So, and that's really the first criteria that we're going to look at is in order to be eligible, you need to be 65 or older within the tax year. And if you're married filing a joint return, as long as one spouse is 65, on or before December 31st of the tax year, then you've kind of met the first hurdle. Like that's the first step. The second thing is there is some income criteria you need to think about too. And before we get into the numbers, let me just say that this is not your only opportunity to get information about it. I think you'll have a pretty good idea when we're through with the session this morning, but I'm going to give you an 800 number where you can call the Mass Department of Revenue, which is where I work, the state tax agency. I'm also going to give you our website. There's information on the website. We even have a little video that you could watch that kind of explains it and kind of walks you through the steps and shows you which form you would need to fill out and type of thing. If you go to a tax professional, they should be very much aware of this credit. Again, the credit's been around for almost 20 years, so it really should not be a surprise to anybody that does taxes for a living. I think sometimes the only trick is, if you have your son-in-law do your taxes for you, and he's not 65, so he might not necessarily be familiar with the credit, but you'll make him aware of it this year now that you know more about it, okay? So let's look at some numbers. Maybe that would help. Do you see my little sheet here with all the numbers on it?
Yep.
Okay. So don't get too alarmed by, I know there's a lot of income amounts and calculation and stuff, but let's not get too worried about that. The prior 3 years are still open, but I want to talk about 2020 in the right-hand column. So if everyone looks in the right-hand column, let's go over the amounts that we need to be aware of for 2020. If you're single and you file your return by yourself, your total income in order to be eligible for this credit has got to be under $61,000. If you are married and you file jointly with your spouse, as long as your total income is under $92,000, then you'd still be eligible, and that's okay. Some people are head of household because they have a dependent person living with them, maybe a grandson or a dependent relative or someone where you're providing more than 50% of their financial support. And if that's the case, your total income would need to be under $76,000 for 2020. And when I talk about total income, sometimes it can be a little confusing because the state doesn't tax Social Security benefits. So normally your Social Security benefit is not on your state tax return. You don't pay state income tax on that. However, when we're trying to think of, do people have the means or the income to pay their real estate tax, we're going to look at your total income and we're going to ask you to include in these amounts, like your Social Security or interest on Treasury bills or some other things that necessarily aren't taxed by the state. So we have the income amounts. Also, the assessed value of your principal home in Mass cannot exceed $848,000. So this is the number like a town hall that they base your real estate tax bill on. Everyone's property is assessed at a certain amount. And this is the figure for 2020 that we're looking at. So as long as your assessed value is under 848, you're okay. Let's talk a little bit about the calculation. If you own your home, the general idea here is that we're going to look at 10% of your total income. And in order to be eligible for this credit from the state, your property tax, and you can add half of your water and sewer bill to that, that amount needs to be greater than 10% of your total income. So let me just use an example maybe. Let's say that, I'll just pick a number. If someone's total income is $40,000 for the year, we know that 10% of that amount is $4,000. In order to be eligible for the credit, we're going to look at your property tax that you paid the city or town. You're able to add half of your water and sewer fee. If that amount, in my example, if my real estate tax and half of my water and sewer bill is more than $4,000, whatever amount that is, that's going to be my credit for the year. Okay. So everyone's credit's going to be a little different because everybody has different income. Everybody pays different real estate tax. The nice thing is the credit for 2020 is up to, the maximum amount is up to $1,150. So let's say in my example, we know 10% of my income was $4,000. Let's say when I look at my real estate tax that I paid together with half of my water bill, I'm at $5,000. My credit for, in that example, is going to be $1,000. And this is with the Commonwealth of Mass. The nice thing about the credit is it's refundable. And what I mean by that is, let's say I have, now I have $1,000 credit available to me. But my state tax that I normally pay would, once I do the calculation and fill out the form, I would have owed the state $700. I'm going to take my credit of $1,000, apply it to my tax. I still have $300 I'm over, and I'm going to get that amount refunded. The $300 would be my refund that I would get from the state. So always with tax credits, you always take the tax credit if you're eligible and apply it towards the tax. We're always, the goal is really to try to diminish, to get the tax as low as possible, and to get it to zero would be great, right? That would be awesome. Some people don't even pay state tax because their income is from Social Security, or maybe they have a public pension, or which is not taxed by the state either, like they're a retired police officer or school teacher. Those public pensions, people don't pay state tax on those. So maybe someone might say, well, I don't even pay state tax, but that doesn't mean that you're not eligible for the credit. And again, whatever amount you calculate is what's going to be your refund. I'm just going to say also that renters can qualify as well. For renters, the income measure is the same, 10% of someone's total income. And then with rent, we're going to look at 25% of the rent that they pay. If 25% of someone's rent is greater than 10% of their total income, whatever amount that might be, up to, again, the maximum for this year is $1,150. So for some people, yeah, go ahead, please. Yes.
I have a question. I have a condo, and my water and sewer bills are paid
right now?
by my condo association, my condo
Right.
fee.
Okay, that's a very common scenario, and you're still eligible to calculate that in. So what you might want to do you pay one homeowners association fee that covers your maintenance of your water and all that?
Yes, it covers all of the common area. And
Okay. So what you need to do is get in touch with the building manager or the trustees or whoever is paying the bills for the association and ask them. You could say, what we're going to do is we're going to prorate that bill. We're going to calculate your portion of it.
He still wants to go to in the litter box.
So they would calculate, they would tell you what the total water and sewer paid for the year. And you have a certain percentage of ownership there.
correct.
You might own 15% and that's how they determine your homeowner's fee on like your square footage, right? So if all the units are the same, everybody has the same percentage of ownership. If some of the units are larger than others, then people with the larger units, their fee is going to be higher because their percentage of the whole association is higher. Does that help?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
So what you could do is when you get that figure from whoever is paying the water and sewer bill, and you may know the percentage of the whole development that you own, or you could ask them, what's my percentage of ownership? And you're going to multiply the percentage of ownership by the total bill. And then we'll take half of that. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. The other point I think we should think about is, I mentioned that this is a refundable credit, it's great. Most tax credits are not refundable. Most tax credits, if you get them on the federal side or even with the state, if you do get a tax credit, as good as it gets, as best as it's going to be, is to bring your tax liability to zero. This goes a step further, that if you're able to use your credit and wipe out your tax altogether, that's great. Again, some people don't even have a state tax liability based on their income. Doesn't mean that they're not eligible for the credit. Do people get that concept? The idea that, maybe this could be refundable for you, which would be nice. Maybe this is a good time too. I'm going to go back up and look at some numbers for the prior years, but maybe this is a good time to jot down our 800 number where you can call us if you have questions and talk to one of our representatives. You also have our website here. And if you go to our website in the search field, if you just type in circuit breaker, you're going to get some information. And you'd also be able to access that video that I mentioned, that I did the video. So it's going to be me kind of talking through the process about what is circuit breaker, who's eligible, how do you get the credit. I should mention that this is important too, that Schedule CB, so we have a schedule that's going to go with your state tax return. In Schedule CB is where you're going to do the calculation to determine how much of a credit you're going to get. Some people, their credit might be $300. Some people might get the maximum of $1,150. Some people, when they do the calculation, maybe they're not, unfortunately, they're not eligible. But even if you're not eligible, I always like to think of it, well, you have the means to pay your real estate tax. And maybe you don't need the credit, you know, so you're in good shape because your real estate tax generally in your water bill is not more than 10% of your income. So that's a good thing. Okay. Questions so far? Okay. I want to go back up a little bit. Okay. So I want to come up here. So, okay. So right now, like we talked about 2020, because in another few weeks, people are going to start to begin to work on their state tax return. This credit has been around for almost 20 years. The state is generous, but to a point. And the same applies like on the federal side as well. The prior 3 years are still open. So not only like if you're just learning about the credit right now for 2020, if you're eligible, and if you've been 65 for the past few years, chances are you're going to be eligible for some credit. So if you had filed your return in the prior few years, but you weren't aware of the credit, you can go back and make a correction to, let's say, to 2017, to 2018, or even last year to 2019. What you need to do is to get the Schedule CB. Again, that's where you do the calculation to determine how much your credit's going to be. You need to get the Schedule CB for each of these years. Just like the numbers are a little bit different, the schedule the schedule has to be specific. I guess what I'm saying is like you wouldn't be able to use Schedule CB for 2020 because now you have it available. You'd have to get the Schedule CB for 2019, one for 18, one for 17. If you go again to a tax professional, they can do this on their computer. They should be very familiar with it. They can make a correction to a return that you filed previously. If you didn't file an original return in the past few years because you didn't need to, maybe you didn't have a need to file a state return based on your income, you can file these years now coming up to benefit from the credit. And again, you don't have to pay state tax in order to get the circuit breaker credit. With the prior year, I just want to alert you that we'll give you 3 years to take care of this, but it's from the due date of the return. So the clock is kind of ticking on 2017. Time is running out. If you were eligible to go back and take advantage or benefit from by 2017 tax year, you need to file that by April 15th coming up. If you don't take care of 2017 by April 15th, then unfortunately you lost the opportunity to do that. Like last year on my handout, I had the numbers for 2016, but that's no longer an option for people. So next year when we're here together at the Council on Aging up in Chelmsford, I will have my 2021 numbers here, but 2017 would have fallen off the handout because it's too late. Okay, so it's important to keep in mind. You have a little bit of time more for 18 and 19 because, again, it's 3 years from when the return was due. What questions might you have?
One.
Okay, good.
Where do I get the CB forms?
Okay, the CB form, if you get a tax booklet, like if we mail you the tax booklet, the CB form is in the book.
For this year?
Yes.
But what about for prior years?
Would you maybe, so you don't have your tax book from a prior year, right? No. Okay. What you could do is, again, go to our website, which is here. And one of the headings, one of the main things is tax forms. And you want to go to tax forms, or even in the search field on the website, you could just type in Schedule CB. And it's year specific, like they'll ask you, what year do you want? Well, I need last year. I need 2019. I need 2018. But I think probably the quickest, easiest way is for you to go to the website and look at income tax forms.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Okay. I have a question for you. Who generally does your tax return for? Do you do it yourself, or do you have someone that helps you with it? Or
I do mine myself.
excellent, good,
Mine usually with a program's mine.
beautiful. The tax program that you purchase normally would prompt you, like it would help you, because in Massachusetts we all have a requirement to have health insurance, and if we have Medicare, then we've satisfied our requirement to have health insurance. So on that schedule that you fill out to tell us about your health insurance is your date of birth. So the TurboTax, one of those software tax prep things, they should know they know that you're over 65 because you've entered your date of birth on the form. And I would think that the tax package that you purchase would prompt you, would say, okay, like, we know you're over 65. What did you pay in real estate tax? What was your water bill? It should kind of help you with it. Maybe some are better at that than others. I don't know. Do you think that you might be able to benefit from this?
Yes.
Excellent.
Personally, I'd like to see if I do if it does work out for me. Yes, I think it would be a benefit.
Okay, excellent, good. So again, I think it's kind of a quick calculation. You probably should have a pretty good idea of what your total income is like for the year. If you add, I know the banks aren't paying any interest, but like if you add your bank interest and your pension and your Social Security, and basically it's all your total gross income. And then we're going to ask you to take 10% of that amount. And then we're going to compare that to what you paid in real estate tax. And you're able to add half of your water and sewer bill to that. And if your real estate tax and half your water bill is more than 10% of your income, this is going to work for you. This is going to help you out. And again, it can either reduce the tax that you would normally have to pay the state, or if you don't pay state tax at all, you get the whole amount refunded.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and it's, I always kind of tell people to share the information with your family, friends, and neighbors. We don't want it to be a secret. It is available. And sometimes people, when we talk about it, Natalie, right? People say like, oh, I never heard of it. Didn't know anything about it. So we don't want it to be a big secret. Again, there's some really good information on the website, and you have the little video that I worked on, that I put together, and you can watch that as well. You can access the forms through the website. So I think that's a good resource for you. What questions might we have?
Pretty straightforward.
It is good. That's good. I'm glad. So I told you it's easy, and that's why they let me do it. And I knew, I knew you'd get it. It's really pretty straightforward. So I hope it works for you. I hope it's, I hope you're able to benefit from it. Ruth, do you have a question? No?
I was just going to say, for folks at home who may not have computer access, we do have your worksheet and sheet with all your numbers on it at the senior center. So we do have them out in our breezeway. If you want to stop by and pick it up, or call the senior center to take a look at the worksheet, the handout, we can certainly have that available.
Oh, that's great. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
And at
helpful.
town hall, we're going to send them to the library just so people can have a visual.
Excellent. Well, that's good. Can we still get into the library? Can you still access the library?
The Chelmsford Library is open. It also has senior hours in the morning, so
Oh, good.
available there.
Oh, that's great.
Our breezeway doors are always open,
Uh-huh.
so people can come in and get stuff there.
Right.
Newsletter.
Yep.
Slide.
And I know the librarians are very helpful too. Like, if normally we supply the libraries with the tax book, and I'm hoping that's going to be the case this year too, but Even if they don't have the books on hand, the librarian could go to the website with you and print the forms that you need.
Excellent.
All right.
Definitely. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope it was worthwhile. I hope you benefited by it. And Natalie, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. And if anyone does have any further questions, feel free to email me or call the senior center, and I will definitely reach out to Brian and we can get you the
Thank you.
information.
Greatly appreciated this.
Okay, good.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you.
Thanks for
Excellent.
joining, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye now.
Bye.